Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful story. It's about a childhood that was basically defined by conflict, and how one single split-second moment changed absolutely everything.
I mean, listen to that opening line. Wow, it's just so brutal. This doesn't just hint at a bad relationship, it's a flat-out declaration of war. This one sentence really sets the stage for a lifetime of conflict.
So that's the journey we're on. We're going to follow this narrator's story and really unpack how this belief about his mother got started, how it got stronger and stronger over the years, and what it finally took to completely shatter a worldview that seemed unbreakable. So how did a war like this even begin? Well, it started with a family that was completely fractured, split right down the middle, forcing a little kid to choose a side. You know, it seems almost heartbreakingly simple. His parents split up and he's got to make a choice. And his father, well, he makes a promise, a whole box of crayons. Now for a kid, that's a world of color, of possibility. So he chose the crayons, and by doing that, he chose his father. And that one choice cemented a division that would shape his entire childhood. And this is what he heard from his mother, over and over again. It wasn't just some casual comment. It was a constant, painful reminder of the choice he made. It was her way of saying, "You don't belong to me." He was his father's child, and in her eyes, that made him the enemy.
Okay, so the story takes a turn here. They move from the city out into the countryside, into this little wooden house surrounded by nothing but bush. And you'd think that isolation would drive them apart, but instead it bound the narrator and his father together through this shared and frankly escalating terror.
And the dread, it just keeps building. First, it's a real human threat. Some man just waiting for his father. Then it gets psychological. Voices coming from the dark, just whispering, tormenting them all night. And then finally, it becomes this act of just brutal violence against their dog. The message couldn't be clearer. You are not safe here. Can you just imagine the psychological toll of that? The horror wasn't just the noise. It was the silence after the noise. Because the silence meant they were still out there, just watching, waiting. There was no escape, no relief at all. So as this pressure cooker of fear just gets more and more intense, the mother leaves. And during this time, alone with his terrified father, the narrator gets this series of really strange but totally unforgettable lessons about how the world works. What's so amazing is the father's reaction to all this terror. He's not teaching practical survival skills. He's teaching these almost mystical lessons about the universe. You know, everything from the divine nature of being a father to the simple, everyday magic of how colors are made. It's really something.
On the very last night, a massive storm is just raging outside. It's like a perfect mirror for the terror they're feeling inside the house. The wind, the rain, the darkness, it all comes crashing in at once, and the father's fear finally hits its breaking point. The father isn't killed in some physical attack. He dies from pure, absolute terror. And this becomes the narrator's tragic inheritance, the shame and the burden of having a father who was, in the end, literally conquered by his own fear. So after the father's death, the narrator and his mother moved to Port of Spain. But, you know, a change of scenery doesn't mean a change in the relationship. The old war just finds a new battlefield. Their life together just becomes this series of battles and contradictions. I mean, you have outright cruelty, like an entire day of beatings over shoelaces. You have the constant psychological grind of being compared to other kids. But then you get these really confusing, rare flashes of kindness, like when she just struck off a broken glass. It's a relationship of total extremes, with this power struggle always just simmering right under the surface. So at the end of the day, nothing has really changed. Even with those rare kind moments, she is still the enemy. The narrator's number one goal in life, the main thing he looks forward to about growing up, is simple: escape. And this leads us to the real question at the heart of this entire story. After all these years of deep-seated conflict, this solid, unshakable belief, is it even possible for one single moment to just undo all of it? You know, the setting for this huge change is so ordinary, almost symbolic. The city is modernizing, and an old latrine wall is getting torn down. And our narrator is just there, watching it happen.
And in this moment of just pure, bizarre impulse, as this huge wall starts to topple over, the boy runs towards it. He tries to do this Superman act, as he calls it, to stop the unstoppable, which of course puts him right in harm's way.
He blacks out. And when he comes to, it's just a jumble of sensations. People talking, water on his face, his whole body just aching. He's surrounded by neighbors who are all worried about him. And then through that haze, he sees his mother. And that's it. That's the image. The image that changes everything isn't one of anger or another lecture. It's tears. For the very first time in his life, he sees his enemy crying for him. And this is the core of it all, his big revelation. It wasn't just that she was sad. It was the discovery that she was capable of being worried and anxious for him. And in that instant, the wall of his own belief, the idea that she never cared, it comes crashing down just as hard as that brick wall did. I mean, listen to that. He's in real pain. His body is broken. But he says he would do it 200 times over just to relive that one moment of connection. Seeing his mother's love shown through her tears was worth any amount of physical pain. And that's really where this whole story leaves us. It makes you ask, right? How much of our reality is just built on our own perception? How many of our enemies are just stories we tell ourselves? It's a pretty profound question about conflicts, about love, and about the incredible discoveries that can redefine an entire life in a single moment.